Thank you. If the previous speaker thought he had accent problems, wait till you hear mine. I think we're the last ones, right? Standing between this audience and a large break, so I'll try to do my best. If you haven't heard about Sky and Space Global, so here are some quick facts about the company. We've been listed here since May 2016. We've done an RTO at 2 cents, done additional capital raises at 8.5 at 19. Total capital raised so far is around 20 million Aussie dollars. We're in the business of providing narrowband communication services. That is the ability to text, to do a phone call, to use machine-to-machine or Internet of Things services, to send some data from one place to another, and we're doing it using nanosatellites, disruptive technology. Market cap is around $300 million, and we believe that the sky is not the limit, it's just the lower limit. Few dry facts, I won't dive into that too much. We have our stand outside, and you can take the investor presentation and dig into the details, and there's a lot of websites covering us. And I won't go into that in too much details other than saying this is an exceptional investment opportunity, and I hope you'll understand why in the next 12 to 13 minutes. The board, or the main people who established this company, so 3 partners who came out of the high-tech and space industry and community in Israel. And a few years back we thought, how can we take advantage of the know-how and expertise that we have and establish a young gray-hair startup, transforming the world and disrupting the way that satellite communication industry is moving on. 2 years ago, we met a group of Australians led by this gentleman, Brett Mitchell from Perth, who offered to take us to the ASX through an RTO process and provide us with the required funding to be able to send 3 satellites to space and demonstrate that we can actually provide these kind of communication services, which are phone calls, instant messaging, kind of WhatsApp, etc. This is our market. There are over 3 billion people living in this area, the equatorial region. Now, things which are almost basic to us today, such as picking up the phone and reading the last WhatsApp message from your wife or daughter or your friend, or doing a phone call or texting someone, are luxuries in that area, and in the most part of this area, they're not luxuries at all, they are impossible. The only way to do that is use existing satellite communication, satellite phones. I think many people here are quite familiar with this kind of industry. You buy a phone for $1,500 and you're paying anywhere between $1 to $3 per minute. Very expensive and unaffordable in these areas. So 3 billion potential customers in this area which are very thirsty for these kinds of services, because as a human being, what's more natural than just being able to communicate? You can see here a simulation of what our system would look like. 200 nanosatellites in different orbits around the globe, covering the equatorial region. Now, you can see Australia down there at the bottom right, and I've been hearing in the last few days that I've been here in Melbourne a lot of discussions over the TV, public discussions on a project that many of you are probably not aware of at all, which is called the NBN. And we've been getting questions, can Sky and Space Global solve that? Well, the answer is yes and no. We're not in the business of providing internet or high-speed internet, but we can provide full coverage for Australia and the surrounding region for the basic requirements of, again, doing a phone call, sending a text message. If you saw that, we are covering with our constellation the northern part of Australia, but we can, of course, extend that if somebody would come up with the right kind of funding, which is, I believe, less than 1% than what NBN has cost so far, just to give you an idea. People ask me a lot when I'm talking to investors, what's your revenue stream? And usually I reply, what's the revenue stream from communication? You can do everything with communication. You can do almost nothing without it. So it's anywhere between large telecommunication operators, which fit perfectly into our business model, which is a B2B model. It's a wholesale. It's not directly to the end user. But it's for airliners, for the maritime industry, for corporates, for customers who require dedicated security within their system. By the way, we're not only disrupting the satellites themselves by the use of nanosatellites about this big, which cost $500,000 to put in space, not like tens of millions of similar products, but we're also creating new standards as far as security is concerned. We have just announced a few weeks ago that we have an agreement with Check Point, one of the leaders, if not the leader, in cybersecurity measures, and we will be the first company in the world to utilize full cybersecurity measures and technologies fully integrated into our system and protecting our customers. So multiple revenue streams, and by the way, almost for each and every one of these in this slide, we already have an agreement, either binding or currently non-binding, which will become a binding contract. We're a kind of a dual vision company because on the one hand, we're thinking small. Nanosatellites, if you're not familiar with them, are less than 10 kilograms satellites deployed into space. Our first 3 hovering just above us are about this big, half a shoebox size. We're thinking very, very small as far as the risk is concerned and as far as the CapEx is concerned. Just to give you an idea, to deploy a constellation of satellites, of course, not Sky and Space Global Disruptive Technology, but similar service providers, is at the order of billions of dollars. Iridium Next will cost anywhere between $3 to $3.5 billion. Current estimates, according to the company, probably will be more than that. OneWeb will cost anywhere between $6 to $8 billion, depending on who you ask and what's the time of day. The entire CapEx for Sky and Space Global constellation is around 200 million Australian dollars, and this is the full expenditure for building the satellites, launching them, operating the company for a period of 3 to 4 years, and replacing 25% of the fleet of satellites on a yearly basis. So this is completely disruptive. It's not similar to anything which have been done before in the space industry. On the other hand, we're thinking very big. Just imagine what will be the impact on society and on the people living in the areas that we are approaching. What will it do to their day-to-day lives as far as education, healthcare, finance, governance? All of that will change and will change for the better. It will transform their lives, it will change their quality of living, it will create a better world. We're thinking very big about the connectivity. We're the first space company to create an autonomous network of satellites in space without any need for ground stations and operators sitting in front of the screen and constantly controlling the satellites, resulting in huge operational cost for the company. It will be a mesh of routers in space handled by artificial intelligence algorithms that we are developing and testing, and they are working today in space on our 3 diamonds. And if you got the impression from what I've said about changing the world for good that we're in this for charity, no, we're in this for the business and for very significant revenues. In fact, I think I'll be embarrassed when I'll show the revenues slide in just a bit. The following 2 slides are the ones I'm most proud of. I've been here a year and a half ago, or a bit more than that, doing the first roadshow, trying to get the funds to kickstart our project. And we've presented a timeline, a schedule, milestones that the company believes it will achieve. The reason I'm so proud of these slides is that it hadn't changed. This is what we promised to our investors, and this is what we delivered and more. So we've met each and every milestone. Within less than 18 months, we have launched 3 satellites to space, tested the technology, proven that it works, kickstarted a constellation of 200 satellites, signed contracts with customers, binding agreements, signed the contract to launch the constellation, and many more. By the way, a very interesting thing happened at the end of last year when we got a call from Frost & Sullivan. If you're not familiar with them, they're one of the leading analyst firms for the aerospace industry. And they called us and said, it was October, exactly a year ago. They said, you've won the Global Technology Innovation Award. We were very surprised. We didn't even know that they're checking us or analyzing us, and we were at the very early stage, no satellites in space yet at the time. So we asked, can you please tell us who are the previous winners of this award? Because we expected it would probably be some unheard of small startups that nobody knows anything about. And they said, yes, well, the previous year's winners were Cisco, AT&T, and Viasat. So this was a very good validation of what we're doing, very reassuring, and of course we were very happy about that. 4 months ago, on June, we've launched our first 3 satellites and started to test them. And I'll get back to that in a second. Just an example of some of the customers that we have already on board to give you an idea of how broadband we are, not with regards to the service, but with regards to what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So I've said it's a business-to-business model. Our main customers are telecommunication providers, such as SatSpace Africa, a binding agreement with them, working in 27 countries across the African continent, and allow us to penetrate the market very, very easily from day one. Social Eco is also very interesting. By the way, we've just announced today a new announcement regarding Social Eco. They're developing a $1 smartphone. So sometimes we're being asked, okay, you have this great idea, your satellites are very cost affordable, they're $500,000 to put in space, but nobody's going to use your services because the people in Africa cannot afford that. Well, this is a demonstration of how we can do that. Social Eco has a $1 smartphone, runs an Android 7 operation system, very advanced, 5-inch screen, kind of like what we have in our pockets today. So today we have announced that we have fully tested this $1 smartphone with our satellites and actually performed everything that we're supposed to do with them, phone calls, texting, etc. So that allows us to go to these developing countries and provide them with the capability to connect to our system. BipTool, totally different company, provides financial services. The main use of mobile phones in Africa is not to call, it's to text money from one place to another. And they're providing this kind of capability. We're testing their application currently, and I expect that to be completed very, very soon. Another example, GlobalSat Group, a major player in Latin America and South America, again, providing telecommunication services. And these are just examples for what we've done, and everything is on our website and then the ASX website. We have a policy of full disclosure to our shareholders and keeping them fully aware of what we're doing. We have an agreement with Virgin. They will launch our satellites, but not only that, they will be our customer because they need to get some kind of information from their airplane and from their missile, and Sky and Space Global will provide them these services according to the agreement we have with them. 200 satellites, that sounds like something imaginative, probably will take you 10 years. Well, no, we're going to launch the first batch in a bit more than a year from now. The contract has been signed more than 6 months ago. Work is moving forward at a very rapid rate. Just to give you an example on how we are doing things and the rate that we are moving forward. So we have launched the satellites on June 23rd. A day later, we started the in-orbit testing, the IoT. A day later, we have announced that the satellites are fully functional and can go into more detailed testing. Immediately after that, we started, for the first time in the world, prove that you can do formation flying in space without any propulsion, just using differential attitude control for the satellites. And once we completed the in-orbit testing, it took us about 10 to 12 days to actually do a phone call for the first time in history with nanosatellites. Never been done before again, this big, 500 kilometers over your head, using a smartphone and a small interconnecting device. This is the most difficult slide, because when you put down these numbers, within less than 2 years, people tend to think you're either ridiculous or trying to be funny or something similar to that. But at the end of the day, if you look into the economies of scale and you understand the market and you understand the CapEx and the OpEx and the possibilities, you understand that these numbers are conservative. And just to give you a small example, if you're an Iridium phone, which is a satellite phone, customer today, you're paying more than $60 or $70 per month. Let's assume that we provide the same services for $10 a month, and let's assume that we get out of these 3 billion people not even 1%, which is 300 million, I'm sorry, 30 million. Not even 3 million, let's say we get 1 million customers, that's $120 million US revenues within a year for a capex of 150 US. That's quite impressive. As we look at the coming months, so now that we have the satellites fully working and the technology proven, we're at the stage of approaching customers, doing commercial demonstrations, and transforming the existing LOIs, MOUs, initial agreements into binding contracts, and of course, accessing new customers and strategic partners. We have also started our next fundraising process with, again, strategic partners that would be able to help us go to the next level, which is creating a very successful business in space. I think we have covered our time. I'd like to leave you with a small commercial break before we head out. Part of what we're doing, other than the technology and the business and disrupting the market, creating new standards in the space industry and in general, is trying to make a better world, which is also important for us. And I'll end with a short movie describing what we're doing. If we can turn the lights a bit, and thank you. I think anybody realizes that we live in a world of constant change, in which the ability to communicate is that simple. And it's clear to see today that around the world the availability of communication is what affects the magnitude of change. Communication is not only the essence of being human, it is also a vital property of life. It's a vital property of change. Communication affects and enables every detail in our daily lives. Communication enables commerce. Commerce enables prosperity. Prosperity enables the future. By 2020, we will begin to provide affordable voice, data, and instant messaging services to anyone, anywhere, anytime. If you would like to join the one and only space-listed company at the ASX, join more than 7,000 partners currently in our company, build a successful business that transforms the world to good, we'd be more than happy to welcome you on board. We have a table outside. You can talk with Brett Mitchell, our executive director, or with myself. Happy to talk with you. And just remember, whatever you're doing, the sky is the lower limit. Thank you very much.